You're listening to Ecto Portal, a journey into the unknown with Anthony Anderson and Verna Wilson.
I hope that you are seated comfortably, with the light turned down and the curtains drawn.
Hello and welcome back to Ecto Portal, another journey into the unknown, the unexplored, the unexplained. I'm Anthony Anderson, your host, and I'm here with my co-host,
Verna Wilson.
And a special in-studio guest,
Jillian from Sacramento.
Jillian's here. She's joining us tonight, live on the show in the studio.
Yes.
Tonight is a pretty special show, right?
Yeah, we have Butch Patrick from the MUNSTERS.
That's right, Butch Patrick.
He'll be joining us online, and online. He'll be joining us as a call-in guest, and we've got lots of questions for him. I love that show.
I know, we were just talking about it earlier, and Butch has been in a lot of TV shows, like a whole lot of TV shows and a lot of movies. His career is actually pretty broad.
Yeah, he's had a full career. I can't wait to ask him some questions, and there's lots of interesting stuff about him I'd like to find out, and I'm sure he'll be able to answer them all.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know he has a keen interest in rock and roll, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And a big interest in cars. He does a lot of tribute cars.
Nice.
One's from the MUNSTERS, of course. I guess one of the original cars, the original family car, is like in a museum. I'm not sure what state, but he probably could tell you. But it's actually in a museum.
Has it ever traveled? The car?
The original car? Mm-hmm. You'd have to ask Butch. Well,
yeah, I'm thinking, for some reason, I saw that.
You might have seen Butch's car, because he travels with the tribute cars. They're replicas.
Oh, okay.
But they're done as in a tribute. Sometimes they're a little bit more, for lack of a better word, flexible, easier to drive.
He actually has two of the cars.
Yeah, that's the ones I'm talking about.
The tribute cars. The Munster coach and the Dragula is what they call it.
Really cool.
Yeah,
exactly. So I know he tours with those a lot. So. And when he goes to a lot of the trade shows and a lot of the celebrity autograph shows, like Hollywood show that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'm sure he's done that many, many times. But he'll be calling here in just a second. So we were also talking about, and I'm gonna ask him about like General Hospital, because he was on the very first episode of General Hospital ever.
Now, what role did he play in that?
1963. I don't know. I imagine it was a child.
Yeah.
See,
Oh, right.
I'm just guessing.
Because he was he was really young. So
because he was Eddie Munster a year later. So
right. So probably a
he was
child
probably
role.
7, 8, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious how old he was when he started the MUNSTERS, because I figured it was probably 8 to 10 years old. But I guess we'll find out. I know he was 17 or 18 when he did Lidsville.
Mm-hmm. I saw him in Lidsville at the time.
Yeah, that was a pretty trippy show.
It was.
Pretty cool.
Most of the Sid and Marty Krofft shows were pretty. They're considered pretty trippy today. We just thought they were just lots of fun back then.
They're
with all the costumes,
crazy characters, lots of color,
lots of costumes.
I used to like watching because I wasn't a huge cartoon fan. Hello, Butch, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello. Good evening to you.
Evening to you as well.
Hi, Butch.
Hi.
I'm Verna.
Hi,
You're
Butch.
Rhoda?
I'm Jillian. How are you?
Oh, Jillian. Okay, hi, Jillian.
So I heard you had a long day already, so we're gonna try and get through this easy.
Yeah, if you could.
So we were just talking about how little you were when you did like General Hospital. That was right before the Munsters, right?
Yeah, when I was young, I was extremely small, so you're right, I was little.
How old were you when you started the Munsters?
I did the Munsters when I started filming. I turned 11 when it came on the air, so I was mostly 11 and 12.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. Wow, you're in the very first General Hospital. That's pretty cool.
Now I heard that when you auditioned for the Munsters, that you were shorter than most of the boys who were auditioning, and they chose you because of your front teeth. You had a natural, like kind of a natural sharp teeth in the front, or how does that?
Yeah, my eye teeth stuck out, and I could tighten my lips and purse my lips, and they would look as though I had fangs. And as far as being smaller than the other kids, there was only 2 other kids at the test, and I don't actually remember that. Someone brought it to my attention recently. You know that I came out, and they flew me out. There had been a lot of interviews, and they had actually hired another kid for the network pilot, and they chose to go with a different mom and a different actor. And that's when my agent jumped in and convinced him to fly me out for the screen test. So I was very lucky. I didn't even have to go on audition. I simply went up for the screen test.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. They made a great
Which in
choice.
itself is an audition, but it's like past the reading and the office visits and stuff.
Right. Do they do that in the costume?
Well, yeah, there was a costume. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well, tell us more about your days in the set. And now you mentioned that what was some of your best memories of being on that set? I know that I was reading an article where you mentioned that the set was kind of a dark, dirty, dusty set, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. When you see the photos, they lit it, but when the lights weren't on, it definitely was very, very dark, dingy. Cobwebs were done daily, and dusting was done daily. And I mean, that's the way they put it. If you watch the show, everything was opposite. When she would dust, she would be spewing dirt out of a vacuum cleaner, that type of thing. So there's the fact that our normal existence was opposite of the other people's existence. But my favorite thing to do inside the soundstage was always show people the secret passages and the coffin phone booth and spot under the stairs, and Grandpa's laboratory. We had a lot of fun stuff going on. The suit of armor at the top of the stairs spinning around and this and that. So it was a good place to show people some of the special effects.
Isn't the same house is actually still on the lot, right? It's just been repurposed many, many times?
One more time, I'm sorry?
Is the original house still on the lot and repurposed?
Oh, yeah, it's there, but it looks nothing like the show. They fixed it up for Desperate Housewives, and then they left it painted all nice and pretty for just it just looks like another house on the street.
It's amazing because
kind of sad, actually.
It is sad. I've seen the original model of the house.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was a miniature that was made. I think it must have been on the lot because they had a museum section for a while, and they showed the miniature of the house, and I was like, wow, this is really, really detailed.
Yeah, they did a great job in making it look, like a creepy, dark house. But of course, they were supposed to. But I mean, if it was like that when you were just filming, I mean, they must have done an extra great job fixing it up.
Yeah.
So, what were some of your best memories of being on that set? And
like any special guests that stopped by that you would like show them around or?
Well, we always had people. It was a very popular destination for visitors, VIPs and stuff. We had the Beatles came on the set one day. I wasn't there that day. I missed out on that.
my
That was kind of a bummer.
Wow, you missed him.
I met Wally Schirra. He was an astronaut at the original Mercury 7. So that was very cool for a young kid to meet one of the astronauts who came out. We had a lot of celebrities would come out when they were on the lot. If they were working, they would swing by and visit Fred and Al or Yvonne, who, they were acquaintances with. Their friends with me. I didn't really get to do a lot. I was always in school.
Yeah.
When you're a kid actor, you have your obligations and your priorities are such that you don't really have any downtime or social time. You're either in school or you're at lunch or you're in makeup or you're working.
Yep. No time for fun.
Well, occasionally there was. I mean, it was Monday and Tuesday were my fun days because they were short days. There was no makeup, no filming. There was a read day on Monday, which only took a couple hours, and then the rest of the day was you were free. And after school, I would want to get out of there, though. I'd want to get home and see what my friends were doing, or pick up on a baseball game or something like that. Tuesday was a little bit more work. We did the rehearsal run through for the various directors that we would have to basically block the scenes so that make it easier and faster for them to do it. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because that was our filming days. So there was kind of a routine involved. But I had plenty of time to go explore the studio and visit Mike Westmore up in the lab making his whatever he was creating for other shows or for our show. There was a lot going on at the studio, so there was always something to go explore.
That's cool. Did you have to tell anybody, like, I'm going to go explore, or did you just, like, I'm going to disappear for a little while? And
no, I would never tell anybody, because then the welfare worker would want to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
good idea.
I'd always ditch the teacher. It was one of those things, yeah.
I'm going to go visit this, but I'll be right here.
Right. I was just wondering, being 11 years old and, a child on the set and the elaborate makeup and your costume, how was that for you? Like, how long did it take to get made up, and was it uncomfortable? Did you hate that part of it? Was it easy?
When we first started out, we had issues with the makeup because we were using grease paint and it would crack into the lights, and they would have to redo
that's
it
uncomfortable.
constantly. But Max Factor came up with some green pan stick that was very you would apply it and it would stay on for most of the day. We would use pancake on our hands and our body, like knees and hands and stuff. Which was water-based, really easy to use. But there were touch-ups throughout the day. But once we got to the pan stick stuff, it was pretty easy and pretty effortless.
That's cool. Now, I know you had a closer...
And as far as my wardrobe, I wore the same thing every day. I mean, it was the same outfit, except that I had that and I had pajamas. That was pretty much it.
The outfit's pretty hot, though. Was it like felt or velvet?
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't too bad. It was short pants and socks. Now, Fred, Herman, who had the big foam rubber suit to wear constantly. That was a little tougher on him. Actually, a lot tougher on him. I shouldn't downplay it. It was very hot and it was very difficult. And and the adults were working longer hours and they were on camera more than I was. So you're still. I mean, I had a fair amount of work, but it wasn't nearly as much as the adults had. I had more than in Maryland, but less than the adults.
Yeah,
the other adults.
That makes sense. Now, I know you said this is like the question you're asked, the most popular question. What happened to Wolf Wolf?
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, Wolf Wolf. He was. They kept him. When I was out doing an Ironside about 5 years after the Munsters, the prop man came up and gave him to me. So I wound up acquiring him long after the Munsters had gone out of production, and then I wound up making a bunch of them to sell to collectors because everybody wanted a Wolf Wolf doll. Nobody ever made them, and then after that, the guy that I was in partners with, I sold it to him, and then he sold it to someone in Indiana. But the number 2 doll that was actually made from the original kind of deteriorated because I didn't take really good care of him, so we had to restore him. And from the restoration process, I got the number 2 doll, which had armatures in it and movable arms and legs and stuff, very posable, which the original wasn't. So I have one. It's not the original, but it's actually better than the original as far as uses.
I imagine will probably last longer too because of the way it's made, right?
Yeah,
that's cool. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So later on, you got into Sid and Marty Krofft Lidsville, and you were Lidsville, and you were doing you were just doing various TV shows and TV series, and then later on you got into music. Did you now was it your own group that you formed for a while, and did you guys ever play live and do concerts?
No, the music thing was actually it was like a Milli Vanilli, but before Milli Vanilli. Bobby Sherman was on Metro Media Records, and a couple guys decided that when they let Bobby Sherman go, they wanted to fill that void with a teeny bop bubblegum star, a la the David Cassidy phenomenon, so to speak, back then in the early 70s. So these guys they had a group called Sugarloaf that they were managing, and they decided that they were going to groom someone in Hollywood to replace Bobby Sherman in that window. So what they did is they contacted my mom at an agency where my mom was working at. So what happened she convinced them to talk to me, and Lidsville was on the air. So what they did is they decided that that would be a good way to promote a new TV Buff star would be through Lidsville. So they signed me. I told them I don't sing, and they said, "Doesn't matter. We can. We'll fix that in production. This kind of a thing." So I went on American Bandstand and lip sync, and we went on the road. We didn't do any live performances, but we did, play a record, and I would come out and do my deal. But the deal was we didn't actually sell that many records, and Metro Media then got out of the record business after that. So that was the end of that. And then afterwards, we did 2 more songs, independently produced on another label, and that didn't go anywhere. So I decided that really wasn't my calling. But in '82, when MTV came on the air, we decided to make rock videos. And since we'd never done a rock video, me and my partner, we decided to take Whatever Happened to Eddie, which are the lyrics to the Munsters theme that I did write, and produce a rock video that was on it was the first unsigned act ever to be on MTV, early on in MTV when Payola and all the record companies were, pretty much bribing themselves to get airplay.
Yeah.
So we got on Super Bowl Sunday. It was really cool. And from that idea, they formed the Basement Tapes because a lot of other bands had made videos that didn't have record deals. And they thought, well, this would be kind of a cool show to sort of showcase garage bands that are looking for record companies to sign them. And I was really happy about that. And I did lip sync that one as well because my guitar player had a better singing voice, although it sounded a lot like mine.
Yeah.
He could hold a tune better than I could. And my bass player, I was the bass player, but my producer was the bass player with Stuart Copeland in a band. He was a much better bass player than I was. So he played the bass, and my guitar player sang, and I wrote the lyrics and picked that one too.
Cool. Now, the B track to that, Little Monsters?
Yeah, that's kind of a cool song.
Now, you did the vocals on that as well, right?
No, I did not.
You did not? Who did the vocals on that?
My guitar player, Brett Black.
Oh, okay. I was like, this is a cool song,
and
too.
he also did the vocals on Whatever Happened to Eddie.
Oh, okay. It's a cool
You
song.
got
It really is.
It's a cool, yeah,
Like I said,
exactly.
I was Munster Manilli before it was fashionable.
Munster Vanilli.
I'm just surprised more people don't know about it because, they're both really great songs.
Were you ever on Dr. Demento with the song?
Yeah, we actually premiered on Dr. Demento.
That's probably where I first heard it.
With Bill Mooney and Fish Heads and Roly Poly Fish Heads, and we had a good time. And it was, it was fun. It was I'm just not a music. I wish I was musically inclined. I wish I could do this.
Well, there was a whole album, wasn't
there?
there?
Today, because for some reason, as I got older, I could hold a tune a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but when I did the Dickie Roberts, the end of the movie where everybody gets involved and does We Are the World, called Proud Stars.
Yeah.
That was like, okay, I can sort of talk my way through this one, but I'm certainly no singer, that's for sure.
But your interest is cars, right?
In cars? Oh,
Yeah.
I like cars. I'm good with cars.
Now you had a question, didn't you, Jillian, about the car?
Well, I was wondering, the original car or a replica of the car, did that go on tour? Has it been at different museums? Because I'm thinking that I saw it at the California Auto Museum.
There's a lot of Munster-related cars around. There's Munster coaches and there's Dragulas. So depending on the time and the year and where you were, it would be hard to pin down. It wasn't mine, probably. Mine, I've only had 3.5 years, and they were built by a gentleman in Virginia that I worked with 5 years prior to buying him. And then when he retired, I wound up, taking possession of them, buying them.
They're beautiful cars too. If you see, there's YouTube videos. They're amazing looking. Now you travel with them too, though, right? When you do different shows.
Yeah, I put 50,000 miles. I'm driving 50,000 miles a year doing events every weekend, sometimes twice a week. And yeah, we did. We're on the road right now. As a matter of fact,
That's excellent.
Now I'm as cool.
About an hour ago, and just checked into the hotel, and we'll be on the road tomorrow morning. Next stop is at the Indy Speedway. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take the cars around the most famous speedway in the world tomorrow.
Yay! Awesome.
That's very cool.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's where you're going to be coming up, right? Your next show?
Yeah, I'm going to be there Saturday night for the Indy Racing League, the Indy Racing Experience, the driving experience. I did an Indy ride along last year, and I became friends with the guy that does that for me. I wanted to do a special thing for Halloween. So on Saturday night, I'll be there, and then after that, I run over to the 66 Museum in Chicago for a Sunday special, and then we head over to Nashville for Halloween night itself on the 31st with my buddy that has the Johnny Cash Museum and the Patsy Cline Museum and the Merle Haggard Museum and all these really killer properties in Nashville. His newest development and acquisition is he loves magic and the Magic Club, Magic Castle. So he opened up a place called the House of Cards, and I will be the MC and the host of a Halloween special at the coolest, newest place in Nashville called the House of Cards.
That's awesome.
That is really very
Halloween.
cool.
Now
Right beneath the Johnny Cash Museum.
Very cool. Is all this is on your website as well?
You bet. You go to Munsters.com. Yeah, the easiest way for everybody to follow anything we do is to go to Munsters.com, and that will lead you to the official Munsters fan group. My Facebook page is Butch Patrick, Butch Patrick 2, as well as Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. It's all out there. The easy thing to do is go to Munster Events.
Yeah.
Munsters Events, and we have all the videos up and of everything we do, and you can sort of see firsthand what we're up to.
Verna and I love a good selfie. Can you imagine that would be some good picture
That would be. I
with
love
Butch Patrick and those cars in
Oh
Nashville.
my God, we would
and
love
Chicago.
that.
Verna, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. We'll be groupie. We'll
They're
be
leaving now.
fangirling you.
Oh, we would be. That would be so much
They're
fun.
leaving now. So you had pretty good friendship with Yvonne DiCarlo, correct? Since the show?
Well, after the show as a kid, and the adults went their way, and, you go back to public school, and then when I grew up, I became about 30, 35, I started reconnecting with Al Lewis. And then Vicki Lawrence Show had me drop in as a surprise guest for Yvonne DiCarlo. And after that happened, we started communicating again, and I knew her kids, and and Bruce, and then later on, as her health deteriorated, I was visiting her up when she was living by herself up in Central California, in Napoma. And one thing led to another that I introduced her to a friend who was a huge fan and a big powerhouse in Hollywood, and he kind of helped her in her later years get into the motion pictures home and make sure that she was taken care of in her waning years. So,
Very nice.
But yeah, we were friends for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's amazing. Anyway, and I know you read the original woman. I don't remember her name. You said she was okay, but when Yvonne DiCarlo came in, it's like whoa,
TV.
game changer.
I keep nodding at you, and nobody can see me, but I'm a
She's like
huge
total game
fan.
changer.
I want to get the makeup
Yep,
right and
yep.
everything. She's beautiful.
Oh, she's
Amazing.
gorgeous.
Beautiful
Gorgeous
woman.
woman. Yeah.
We've been talking to Butch Patrick tonight. He's going to call us back here in probably about 5-6 minutes. We were just talking about his career, his experiences on the Munsters, filming the Munsters, wandering the Universal lot when
What
he
it was
wasn't
like
going to school.
to be on the
Anybody
set, being a
know?
child star.
The what?
Yeah. Being on the set, being a child.
Yeah.
It's being a child at the time, and what it was like to be a child star working in a working show like that.
And
Yeah.
his cars, his tribute cars that he tours with. He does a
Yes.
lot of shows. I mean, this guy works a lot.
He's busy.
Very busy.
Yeah.
So I could just imagine the schedule, getting having your cars delivered at a certain time to make sure I'm sure he drives at least one of them, and I imagine someone drives the other one maybe, but
Yeah.
you got to maintenancing the cars, make sure they look good.
Lots of work going into that.
It is. That is a lot of work. That's a schedule, all right.
Yeah.
So that's cool that he has that gig coming up. You guys should check out the websites that he provided. And yeah, we're going to talk to him again in a few minutes because we have some interesting stories that he's connected with. Of course, this show is a paranormal
It's all about the paranormal, this
So-
show. So
He is going to hopefully share some paranormal experience with us.
yeah, I definitely have some questions for him about that because I read that. Well,
Don't tell him.
I won't tell.
Let
but
him
I will,
tell.
I will tell him when he comes back on. But I definitely have some questions for
Let him
about
tell.
that. Let him tell. Right. Because
Can I tell?
If you know.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
yeah, I mean because that's what this show is all about. So.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Munsters is connected with the paranormal. A lot of shows in that era was connected with the paranormal.
Yep, a lot of cool ideas came out of the 60s. I Dream of
Most
Jeannie, which
definitely.
Butch was also on.
Yeah,
Bewitched. I mean, there's a lot of shows that had...
The Ghost and Mrs. Muir.
Supernatural.
Yep.
Charles
Dark
Nelson Riley was on that. That was the TV series based on the movie. That's right.
And Dark Shadows,
Dark
of course.
Shadows.
We had Chris Pennock on from that show.
Yep. There's a lot of shows that came out late 60s, early 70s. Well, obviously the network said, you know what? We'll do anything. My Mother the Car.
I was just going to say that one, and I thought that's probably done, but My Mother the
Car, yeah.
with Van Dyke.
Yeah.
What's his name? Dick Van
Jerry?
Dyke.
Right.
Jerry Van Dyke.
Jerry Van Dyke.
Yep.
And then, of course, we can't forget the Addams Family. Everybody knows that one.
Of course we can't. But like I said, the Munsters is always more fun. That's what we were just talking about off air.
About
definitely.
That, yeah.
The Munsters is a lot more fun.
A little darker.
Yeah.
And you said smarter. A little smarter.
But the Munsters
What I mean by
was
that is it's
always
more
fun.
adult. The
Yeah,
Munsters
yeah.
was
I think
come
for
in and
kids,
have a good time.
yeah, for the kids, a lot of the Addams Family went way over their heads.
Exactly.
Some of the stuff, but the Munsters, I think everyone could get it no matter what age you were, which is I think part of its long-lasting appeal in reruns even.
And I used to laugh about the one character that looked normal, and they thought she was weird. The one who played Marilyn, the girl, the blonde
Marilyn.
girl. Yeah, Marilyn. Yeah,
I wanted to be Marilyn.
she was gorgeous.
I'll be ugly like Marilyn. That's okay.
Yep, cousin Marilyn, the unfortunate one.
Yeah.
Although,
And she was always defending her family. Remember when she got boyfriends home and
Yep.
they would get
They
all
would
freaked
run.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. That's true. I'm just curious what he thinks about, because they've tried to revive the Munsters 2, 3 times, 4 times.
did they do a movie?
No, they haven't done they did one. The original cast did one movie in the late 60s.
Okay.
And then they did a TV movie, but then they've never done a new theatrical movie. The Addams Family did, but I'd be curious. I don't know. Could the Munsters actually be done as a theatrical movie now in the same way? I mean, the Addams Family was kind of twisted and modernized, but still twisted in like the Addams Family. Could you bring the Munsters up to date?
You'd have to get
Tim Burton could.
And we are speaking once again to Butch Patrick. Butch, you there?
Yeah, how you doing?
We are good. We were just talking about your paranormal connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as you know,
Yeah,
Butch,
you know,
normally.
that kind of came accidentally. I wasn't really aware that my grandma's house was haunted. My sister was, and she told me when I was leaving. She goes, the house is haunted. And I said, no, I didn't know that. She said, oh, yeah, Miss Ruby's there, and, there's a bunch of other active things going on. And unbeknownst to me, I just bought the house to save it from being demolished for my grandma's memory.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm traveling around the country with my cars, I thought would be a good fit to have a house in the Midwest. It would make it a lot easier for me to get to more destinations. And the ghost thing just came in as a perk, I guess.
As a perk. It's just an extra feature, right?
Yeah, they don't. I've never really had any issues with them. My wife is very much annoyed by them, and they seem to be on her radar much more than mine. In fact, I've never had any issue with it whatsoever. But I've had other people in the house, people that worked on the house, people that housed it for me. It seems like everybody but me has a connection with these ghosts. I mean, I've got videos of them from my security camera, and I've heard noises, but nothing to the extent of other people. So I guess I'm just sort of oblivious to it.
Are you a skeptic or a believer? Or
I'm a believer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a believer. No, I've been oh my God, I've been to. I used to have a TV show called Macabre Theater about 17 years ago, and my job was to go do a ghost segment every week. And I went to the Queen Mary and the Roosevelt Hotel and the Whaley House and Villa Montezuma.
Nice.
And anyway, a bunch of very high-profile, very active places. Never actually saw an apparition, but felt stuff and smelled stuff, and the fact that I have a lot of intelligent friends and my sister for that matter, and family members and other people who I trust and know who believe in it. Just because I haven't physically seen a ghost jump out at me doesn't mean that I don't believe in it. And I have seen it on video on my security cameras.
Huh.
And I've got pictures of them in my phone and things of like. I'm very convinced they're there. I'm just happy that they really don't bother me. Although in the house we've had some. I've had several professional ghost people come over, and the house is built in a vortex. That's why it's got so much activity. People are just cruising through.
Yeah, exactly.
On their way from one spot to another.
It's a freeway there.
And
You know, Butch, the photos that you have
Yep.
on your phone, do you mind sharing those photos? Or are they too
sharing them,
personal
how am I
for you,
gonna-
the ones that you captured the ghosts? Because we'd love to see them on the Ecto Portal page.
I've posted them on the. You can go to MUNSTERS events.
Oh,
And
okay.
I believe Leela's actually got the videotape up there. If not, I'll have her do it.
Cool.
She's not here right now.
Yeah, we have a
she's-
Facebook page, so if
Yeah.
she could post it on the Ecto Portal page,
Yeah.
we'd love to see them. Because that's
Yeah,
what,
I've got actually. On her phone, she's got several videos, and what I did is I took some screenshots off of her video and froze it and enhanced it, and I've got several different faces, and
Wow.
they're pretty scary-looking guys from back then too. Pretty interesting faces. And I've also, like for instance, I waxed the floor one day to check out some floor waxes, and the next morning I sent it to my guy, and I said, "What are these two footprints in my floor that weren't there the night before?"
huh?
He says, "Well,
Wow.
that's probably Miss Ruby was probably hanging out in the
It was
energy
Elizabeth
from her
Ruby,
burning your-
yeah.
burning into your floor." He says, "But you see the woman's face in the left footprint."
Oh, weird.
And I looked at it and I go, "My God, there is a face in that footprint. Look at that. It's clear as a bell." So they've been doing a lot of stuff.
Have you ever? Now you mentioned that the Rubies used to own that house, and it's Elizabeth that you've heard that's haunting the place. Are you sure it's her? I mean, has she left any marks that you can tell, or has she communicated in any way where you can tell it's actually her? Or
Just the people, the mediums that I brought in, and the professionals that have come in with their equipment, and both like Michael Lynch and Vicki Main from Paravision in St. Louis. They know it's her, and my sister knew it's her. But me, no. I'm just relying on everybody and the professionals and the experts for their opinions and their information.
Now, you said the house was in your family. Was it your grandfather, your great-grandfather, you said?
No, my grandma just owned it. It was built in 1875. My
Oh,
grandma
okay.
owned it from 1966 to 67 to 77.
Did she ever have any experiences, do you know of?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Oh,
And
okay.
we weren't allowed to go into the basement. There were certain things that we couldn't do. And I was always out with my grandfather and stuff, fish and stuff. So I never really had a whole lot going on with the ghost stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow, and you've actually had paranormal investigators come in and check it out. What was their findings? Did they find any evidence and themselves?
Yeah, they found it was very active and a lot of activity, and millions of orbs flying around and voices and this and that, and they filled up their little hard drives of their computers with all kinds of stuff that they took home for analysis.
That's cool. Wow.
any EVPs that you heard that were pretty obvious, or
Not me. This is like when I found out you guys are going to be calling about paranormal stuff. It's like that's not really my strength.
Right.
That's more you should be talking to Leela, because she's the one that actually sees this and has the radar and the antenna. For whatever reason they communicate with her.
Yeah.
And she's a lot more privy to it than I am. But it's all I know is everybody's coming to the house. And the people, everybody like in the town knows, oh, yeah, that's house is haunted. They see the ghost in the window. And it's just common knowledge that it's the haunted house and that anybody used to live in it. Now he bought it back again, and he's back in town, stuff like that.
You're like, what? People in the windows, they need to pay rent for all these years.
no kidding?
Yeah,
huh?
really.
Now, do you still invite investigators and mediums and people to come into the house and have
If
a
I'm
go
not
at
there
it?
hardly at all anymore. I'm on the road so much that if we were going to do that, but things sort of shifted gears when Leela started booking me so much that I'm never home. And then in the wintertime, we certainly don't hang out there because it gets so cold.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was originally going to let more and more people come there, and they would like to do that, but I'm never there to physically be there to meet them. So they don't want to do it unless I'm there.
Well, Anthony and I, we'd love to investigate it. I mean, we're professional investigators. We love to investigate it. We've been interested in the house since we read about it. So, if you ever have an opening, we'd love to do it. Just letting you know.
Yeah, that may be. Right now it's for sale. To be honest with you, but I had it for sale because I'm just never there. Honestly,
Yeah.
the house requires someone to live in it and to work on it and fix it. I mean, I got the roof, and I did everything to make it totally livable. I mean, it's a really cool house. I caught it. It was vacant 6 years before I bought it, so it's
You
being
rescued it.
142 years old, or 142 years old now.
That's old.
It's a solid old house, but you have to stay on top of it and make sure it doesn't deteriorate anymore.
Oh, right, a lot
The
of
walls
work.
are great, the woodwork's great, and I put a new roof on it, and I put the HVACs in it, and the electrical and plumbing and all that stuff. But it's still, I left it in its condition the way I moved into it, because I kept thinking it was going to be a TV show, and I wanted to leave it like I acquired it. I didn't want to fix it all up and then have to redress it to make it look like I just bought it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it doesn't bother me. I mean, I live in it just the way it is. It's fine. It's kind of cool, actually. I've gotten very accustomed to it.
Yeah, it's kind of that's a big expense too. Whether you fix it up to modernize it or you fix it up to restore it, there's still expense no matter which way you go.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely something that I didn't really, it's great that it's there. I like it. I'm happy I have it. I can keep it. I can sell it. I want to sell it to someone that will, not level it. I mean, I'm telling you, the real money in this house, if someone really wanted to make money, if I wanted to do this, but I said I would never do this, is to disassemble the house and sell it in parts. I got 5 fireplaces. I got the woodwork, and the woodwork in this house is amazing. If you were to build this house today, it would cost you $3 million.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sure.
wow.
It's just,
Oh, my goodness.
It's just unbelievable the amount of money this guy spent on this house. He was the richest guy in town back in the 1870s, and he was a coal baron, and he built this house, and he spared no expense, and it's beautiful.
Have you ever looked up any history of the house before? Like, I'm sure your grandmother probably knew some of the history of the house.
I know, yeah. There's a total history. I've got, the genealogy and the whole the Miss Elizabeth Wardell and Thomas Wardell was killed during a labor dispute, and then he died in the house, and then she moved to California and produced the original Tarzan movies out in the 20s, and she was kind of a jet setter before jets were around type of thing.
Right.
Then when she died, she came back. They brought her back and buried her. We've had all kinds of stuff going on with the house. Is very far from the cemetery.
Yeah.
And there's like tunnels from the house. And then there's another house across the street that the son built. Makes my house look like the carriage house. He built a mansion across the way that's vacant now.
Wow.
That also has a lot of activity at it. It's got like a tunnel from my house to its house that's been filled in.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's that aspect of the Wardell legacy. Then there's a lot of other things going. It's just a lot of stuff, but it's been documented, and there's a lot of historical significance. And there's this book that this woman put together that did a very in-depth search of all the people that lived in the house, who are associated with the house, who basically was a ghost, and the resident ghost and their friends type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's
it's pretty cool. I mean, it would be really something very neat for someone that was really into this stuff. I mean, I'm not really into it. I mean, I own a haunted house. Okay,
yeah,
my grandma's house, but I'm not really a ghost hunter and an investigator. I just happen to live in a house, and I'm somewhat oblivious to it.
That's probably good, though. I mean, there's some people that they have experiences whether they want them or not all the time. To not have to worry about it, it's probably okay too.
It is. My wife isn't happy about it. She doesn't want to go back.
When
I told her the house when I pulled the house down from the market, from being on the market, she wasn't happy. She goes, you mean you're going to drag me back up there? No, I'm not going to drag you back up there. But we have a TV show that a friend of mine we're working on, and it would be helpful to have keep the house and talk about what I bought and what's going on with it, and this and that. And I didn't feel selling the house to try to help.
Is that the show called Property Whores, the reality show?
No, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
That was an idea. That was a concept that we discussed. But that was 2 years, and that option has expired. And now we're going to do something a little bit more Americana related, where in between all these weekend destinations that I go to, something like Charles Kuralt on the road, the old school, just simple little things, interesting things that occur in small town
that sounds
Sometimes
cool,
big town
actually.
America, but mostly small town.
That sounds
Small
cool.
town stuff's what I want to do. And in between, if I'm talking about small town and living in a small town, it would be helpful for me to actually have the house and have the reality of what I'm talking about. If you're going to do it, you got to walk the walk, do the talk, and blah blah blah. I do that. So by selling the house, it would sort of ruin the whole concept of what I'm actually doing.
Yep, that makes sense to me too. You're like, well, guys, I got this house. We can do it.
Yeah, we can do it.
Absolutely.
So, I know you've been talking about this since we were talking about the house, but I also heard that you had paranormal experiences when you were a child growing up. So,
or did you?
No, I didn't. My sister did.
Oh
no, I never had any. That's kind of interesting because my sister very much had a relationship with Miss Ruby. Saw her all the time. Always the same spot, always the same look. Very sad. Seemed very sullen, and in the same clothing and the same hairdo. But no, I never had any ghost experiences. I'm sorry for the confusion, but no, I didn't.
I think it's the article she found that went into all the details of that, and apparently that one isn't good.
Yeah, it was one where they mentioned that you were in the 8th grade when you lived with your grandmother, and that, you did mention your sister and grandmother were the ones who witnessed the haunting rather than yourself.
There you go.
Yeah,
there
so
you go.
I guess you're right. I thought possibly maybe you remembered something, or there was...
No, that's why my sister said, don't you remember? I said, no, I was always out with Grandpa. I wasn't hanging around the house. She goes, don't you remember that Grandma wouldn't let us go in the basement? I said, vaguely, but no, it just never was, not really one of those big things. But, I believe in ghosts, and, I've had a lot of interesting things happen recently. It's, like I say, I bought the house not because of the ghost. I bought the house because I wanted to save it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I did.
Which is a
and
great
it turned out to
reason.
be a good situation to actually have an address in the middle of the country with crisscross that uses a home base.
Yep.
And the townsfolk are great. I'm very connected with childhood friends, and there's some great people, and it's like, when I tell people, it's like, Andy and Mayberry living in the Twilight Zone with Eddie Munster. That's
That's a good
analogy.
analogy.
When I pitched the concept, I said it's
Yeah.
very much the town is the story, the house is the story, the ghosts, not so much.
Yeah.
They're like the third level, but the house and the town are cool.
Well, the nicest thing about ghost hunters is they're also usually historians. They're one in the same. So a lot of ghost hunters are historians, so they save it, so they have the ghost. But then they want to have it for the ghost, so they try and save the building. They work hand in hand, which is pretty cool. But there's a lot of historians that kind of have experiences for that reason.
Well, the house itself is an interesting dynamic there because it's like this old house or this old haunted house, and it's got a lot of history of these giant rooms with this incredibly awesome woodwork and this Cresta, back before they had this wallpaper stuff. This guy had this leather tooled wallpaper put into the dining room. It's like lost art. I mean, it's just people don't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's really some neat stuff in it, and it's huge. It's a big place. It's like, there's a full basement. There's 2 full floors, the 1,700 square foot per floor, and a full attic. So if you actually add up all the spacing, it's damn near 8,000 square feet.
That's a lot.
I was living there by myself.
Wow.
And the rooms are huge because there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
But the rooms that are there are very tall. The room ceilings are very tall, and the walls are really thick, and you can throw frisbees from room to room. It's big.
Wow.
And it's on 1.5 acres, and it doesn't sound like a lot of land, but when you're from California and you live at the beach and you're lucky to have a 5x5 lawn,
That's true.
a house with 53 trees on it, on a corner
It's
lot.
amazing.
The road actually goes around my house, so you sit there, watching TV with the window open, and you sort of see the entire town drive by on a daily basis.
Yeah. Very cool.
And people are always driving into this because they're not watching the road because they're looking over at my house.
Yeah, exactly. Just turning things completely different direction because I have to ask because my friend will kill me if I don't ask. He's a huge Charles Nelson Riley fan, or was.
Lidsville.
And I have to ask you, working with Charles, is it true that Charles just did not like to work on Lidsville at all?
He was whining about the makeup. He didn't like the makeup.
Oh, yeah.
And he was entitled. He wasn't used to makeup. And I told him, I said, I did this for 2 years. You've got to do this for 11 weeks. Relax.
Yeah.
And so, Charles was a lot of fun. He was an interesting guy and very talented, but he didn't like the makeup. He loved the character.
Yeah.
He loved doing what he was doing, but he didn't like the
makeup.
Didn't like the makeup.
You were probably great. You're like, I'm like literally the only actor on this show that doesn't have to wear any makeup.
It did. It was a nice change of pace. Occasionally there was a few episodes where I was made up, but most of the time I wasn't.
Yeah, because even Billy Hayes had her makeup on too.
I know that you mentioned that you really didn't have any paranormal experiences. I'm going to go back to your acting here for a minute. But I was curious before you came on the show, reading about the set. The Munsters set was on Universal Studios. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's an old studio, and I was wondering did you ever experience anything strange or felt any presences around that studio walking around?
No, I really didn't. I went to my favorite destination was the Phantom of the Opera soundstage. So
yeah.
the biggest soundstage.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
In Hollywood at the time, and it had catwalks that were like 7 stories high.
Oh.
I loved climbing up to them. Excuse me, I'm having a bite to eat. I haven't had my dinner yet. So
Absolutely.
Oh, that's good. Well,
you'll have to excuse me. I'm trying to eat before my dinner
it's
gets
okay.
cold.
Yeah.
It's late back here.
Yeah, you're way ahead.
Yeah, you're ahead of us.
We
You probably
appreciate you taking time for this though tonight.
Yeah, you probably had a long day.
No problem.
So yeah,
in Hollywood,
what are you eating?
Must go on.
I'm curious.
Jillian wants to know what you're eating.
He wants to know what you're having for
eating
dinner.
Eating a very bad steak.
Bad steak?
Bad steak.
Oh, well, sounds good. I'm hungry right now.
Why is it bad steak? Is it
good.
overcooked?
Or undercooked?
It's gristly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's grizzly. Oh, okay. I've had grizzly steaks before. They're so tough to
Throw it in a tortilla.
So, going way back before like Lidsville, when you were, I guess you met with, was it Sid that you met with he convinced you to do the show, Lidsville?
Yes.
Did he? Did he actually pitch you the whole thing, or?
Yep. I turned Marty down 3 times, but finally, because I thought it was silly.
Yeah.
It was like, and then I went to high school and I asked my friends about it. They go, "What? You're going to turn down work? You're crazy." And what really happened was Sid convinced me to do it, and the fact that I figured all my friends would be asleep at 10 in the morning on Saturday, so nobody would ever see it.
That's true.
And I would take the check and run.
There you go.
Well,
it did very well though, because it reran for years.
It became
and
really
years.
popular, and they hired, and ABC did it, and NBC picked it up afterwards.
Oh, see.
For
I
2
bet
more
being
years.
a TV star in high school and in elementary school attracted the girls more. I bet they all wanted to get to know you because you were so cute.
So cute and popular.
There you
Yeah,
go.
cute and
that,
popular.
That goes with that starting of the Teen Idol years, correct?
I used to see you in Tiger Beat.
Oh God! Yeah, that was a whole.
Oh, God.
Take a bubble bath with Butch. That kind of stuff.
Those were typical articles of the time.
Absolutely typical artists of the time.
Everybody should be. Let me see. Everybody should not so much on the cover of the Inquirer, but they should be. They should be in a teeny bop magazine and be 18 years old. I mean, I got to tell you. I had a wonderful life. I mean, when my mom married Kenny Hunt, he was a professional baseball player when I was doing the Munsters. So when I had time off from the studios, I would be at the ballpark hanging out with professional ball players. And then when I turned 16, I got my Mach 1, and then I started hanging around with the professional funny car drivers and drag racers. And I've always been very, very lucky that I was around cool things happening and doing fun stuff. And I just figured, I didn't really feel that I was special. I kind of thought everybody had a cool life, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
So
and I didn't really appreciate it as much as I should have at the time.
Yeah.
It sounds like at that time you had a positive experience then being a child actor around that time. There were so many stories that have come out. But
I never
you
wanted to
loved
be an actor.
life.
That just came naturally to me. It was a temporary job to me for my race car money. I wanted to be a race car driver.
Yeah, that's
Back
the
to the
best.
cars.
That's the best attitude too. Like I have to do this to fund what I want to do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, it was never going to be a career at all. And one of the reasons I quit doing it because Lidsville, I had done a movie prior to that, and the movie was supposed to win some Academy Awards, and I was going to get a Best Supporting Actor nomination,
Wow.
and I was going to become a movie star. And I thought, oh, this would be cool. That I can deal with. That would be great to do that. Less work, more money, movies, and then the movie got shelved because the producer and his wife had this huge, ugly Hollywood divorce. That you ever see that movie, The War of the Roses?
Yeah.
Well, that movie was loosely based on this guy's divorce.
Oh my god!
Wow.
And they lived in this giant house together, and they shared it. And they hated each other so much that they tried to he tried to freeze her out because he had the thermostat, and then she tried to do this, and it was awful. What happened was that she got the rights. Her name was Rhonda Fleming. She was a big star in the 50s. She got the rights to half the movie. Hall had worked 11 years on this movie, and when he found out that she was going to get half the rights, he was so pissed that he shelved the movie, and it never came out.
Jeez.
So the movie was finished?
Nobody really ever saw the movie, and
was it completed though?
We went from billboards on Sunset Boulevard to Lidsville, and after that, it was like, well, this isn't working out like I expected, so I just let the whole thing. Plus, at the same time, it was the 60s and 70s, and people were prone to party.
Yep.
It was a whole different world back then, and I was really good at that. So I moved to the beach with my Corvette, my surfboard, and my girlfriend, and proceeded to throw massive parties.
Yep. I can see that.
For like 40 years.
40 years. It was a long party.
So that was my downfall. Was work got in the way of my fun, and they didn't think nobody. There was no parting ways. I mean, I didn't care for them. They didn't care for me. We just sort of like waved goodbye and went our separate ways.
So was that movie you shot? Was it completed? The actual movie itself finished, but just never released?
Yeah, you could look it up. It went through three names. First, it was called the Capataz de Areia because it was shot in Brazil. And we went down to Brazil. I was 16 years old. No teacher, no parent.
Wow.
3 months in Brazil.
Okay.
My sister says he left as Richie Cunningham and he came back as John Lennon. When I got sober, I'll be sober 8 years next month. So when I first got sober, that was how she explained the look that I had, because when I went down there, it was wild time, and when I came back, I kept pursuing the wild time.
Yep.
But that movie was called the Capataz de Areia, but in the English, that's the Sandpit Generals. Then they changed the name from the Sandpit Generals to the Wild Pack, and then he changed the name one more time, and he changed it to the Defiant. So if you look it up, you can find it, and it was interesting. It was an American stars with a Brazilian crew and a Chinese caterer and a French camera crew, and then a bunch of famous Portuguese and Brazilian stars as well. It was a real mixture, but it was a cool book, and it was a real popular book by Jorge Amado, a bestseller about the bastard children of horrors and streetwalkers in Brazil that live on the streets, that fend for themselves, and they band together, and they're basically survival of. It's almost like a Lord of the Flies thing.
Wow! Did you ever get to see?
But that actually goes on in Brazil.
Did you ever actually get to see any kind of cut of it?
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. It's very dateable. I mean, it's a 60s and 70s movie.
Yeah,
that's very easy to read. But it was a good movie. There was nothing wrong with it. It was kind of sad that this guy spent so much time on it. And the irony of it, I drove a friend of mine up to make to the interview for the movie, and as I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for him to come out of his interview, Paul looked over at me and he goes, "You're Butch Patrick." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Have you got a minute?" And I go, "Yeah." And I walked into the office, and I wound up getting the part that I drove my friend up for. And 3 days later, I'm in Brazil.
Wow.
Wowee.
That's how fast it happened.
That's kind of what happened with you originally when you started out, right? Your sister went in, and you went in with?
They were looking, I went along for the ride for her photo shoots. What happened? And this guy, when he was done, he was a professional photographer, and he takes pictures for a living. He looked over at me, and he goes, "Can I take some pictures of him? He's kind of cute." And my mom said, "Sure, no worries." he put the picture in his window. He had a studio in Hollywood Boulevard, Amos Carr. So he put my picture in his window, and a director and a producer were walking by, and they noticed the picture, and they were casting a movie that they needed a couple of young kids on, and they had already cast one kid, but they were looking for his younger brother.
Oh.
They tracked me down to that photo, and I told them, I said, there's no experience, and I was only in the first grade. I'd never done any acting, and they didn't care. I said, okay, got to start somewhere.
See, it can happen.
Yeah, most
Through
definitely.
hook or crook, one thing led to another, and it was sort of just meant to be, I guess.
That's awesome, though.
And that again was just an accidental situation.
Now, were you game for that when you were little? When that happened, were you like, "Do I want to do this?" Did your mom have to convince you?
I liked it because it kept me out of going to second grade, which was boring because I was always pretty old for my, I was wise beyond my years, and I found that elementary school and being around other kids was kind of dull. So I enjoyed the fact that I was around adults and working and making money, and I knew that was going to be important someday.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's
cool.
for
At least
sure.
you're obviously aware of that at the time, which is really cool.
Yep, I was. They used to call me a 39-year-old midget because I acted so old when I was such a young kid.
Did your sister ever continue acting, or did she ever try out for other roles?
Never started.
Was that the beginning and the end?
That was the beginning. Well, she did an 8 Isn't Enough when she was a teenager, and she did a couple. She did a little movie once, but nothing substantial, though.
You did a lot of commercials too, like over 100, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
no, probably about 60.
Still, that's a lot.
Probably about 60. Things get exaggerated here and there, but I did do. I worked a lot in 11 years. My window was from 1960 to 71, and I did a lot of work in that window.
But at least it allowed you to do what you wanted to do too, though. That's what's important.
It was fun. I could have done a lot more work. I mean, it wasn't a calling. It was one of those deals that when there was no little league or there was no touch football and there was no surf or whatever, then I would work, and it was it was casual. It wasn't an around the clock situation. I worked maybe once a month.
Now I noticed over the years they've tried to reboot the Munsters. Like I want to guess like 4 or 5 times now, in different capacity. Usually pilots or TV movies, and I know there was one series at one point that they tried to do. What do you think of the new reboots, revivals of the Munsters, or in general other reboots? Were you keen on those at all? I know you were in one of them, right? You were in the Bryan Singer one.
It's nice that they still, what is it, imitation's the highest form of flattery, or whatever it is.
That's true.
The deal is the name is so popular, and the original show had such a strong draw, and people in Hollywood will always try to tap into something, and they've done it several times. The Addams Family, they did movies, and Broadway plays. Mm-hmm. The Munsters, they did mostly television stuff, and yes, the thing in the 80s was pretty bad, but it still ran 3 years. It made money for the producers, so they were happy. And then they did Mockingbird Lane about 6 years ago with Bryan Singer and Brian Fuller, great writer, great director, good cast, Jerry O'Connell, Portia de Rossi, Eddie Izzard. Universal spent $10 million on this pilot.
Yeah, that was
huge
pretty
amount of money.
Pretty lavish for the looks of
And
it.
they still didn't greenlight it. So it's just, I don't think that the powers that be at Universal really understand the fan base of the Munsters.
Yeah.
And they don't really know what to do with it. So I know that Seth Meyers is trying to get them to allow him to do a remake with the family movie living in Brooklyn. Is the idea.
See, that would be perfect. I mean, the Brady Bunch pulled it off, being the weird family in modern day. I think the Munsters could totally do that same kind of idea.
That's Brady Bunch, number one.
But I mean, with their movies, they kind of did the same idea.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
It depends. I actually gave his production team some ideas on what they could possibly do to have Herman. Herman needs to have a job because the whole idea was the Munsters are regular, working folk and mom around the house. And I said, maybe he could drive my Munster coach as an Uber driver, or they could take care of the theater with showing family home movies, which happen to be monster movies,
Yeah.
everybody else. But you got to come up with something that allows for scripts and content and people to come and go into their lives to make it funny. You have to have active content. But it looks as though Universal has pulled out of that deal and is not going to do it. So
yeah, I think you're right.
All for naught.
I think you're right about Universal. It really has no clue with a lot of their back catalog and material. They just don't know what to do with it. Not that you can't. I just think they don't.
You have a lot of college graduate guys. Even when I was a long time ago, the guys that are you have people that graduate who've never actually really seen the show. They're in positions of power and decision making. I'll tell you one of the most interesting things that ever happened. I'm sitting in my friend's office in Hollywood. I'm looking at his wall scripts. I mean, there's like a wall of scripts. I go, what's with all the scripts? He goes, oh, those are all the scripts that have been rejected. I go, really? And I go, so where's the scripts that have been accepted? And he goes, well, there aren't any here. I go, well, how many are there? He goes, there might be 10 or 15 floating around somewhere. And I go, so what's the deal with all the negative scripts? He goes, well, script writers, professional script readers, we get scripts. Somebody has to read them, and then they have to say yay or nay.
Yeah.
And they say no to everything, because if they say yes to something and it doesn't become a hit, they get fired. So the creative process in Hollywood is it's safer to keep your job by reading a script and saying no to it than finding something that you like and passing along as a yes because your job security is at stake.
Yeah.
Now tell me, is that a crazy way to run an industry?
That sounds a lot like politics.
Say no to everything.
Totally.
A creative process, a creative industry is basically the first wall of defense and or acceptance of anything is people looking at stuff to protect their butt and to say no to everything.
Yeah, so creative decisions are based on fear.
and yet you'll see something come out like Baby Geniuses or these horrible movies that like somebody had a package deal that they had to fulfill a contractual obligation and they owed some studio a movie from some past contract, something from the they did. It's like a musician owing a record company an extra album, and so they go into the studio one afternoon and put together a piece of crap and submit it.
Oh, we're gonna have to release it anyway. It's contractual.
I know.
That's insane.
So anyway, I thought that was so ironic that a creative, what's supposed to be a very creative industry, is basically stifled by people that don't want to say yes to anything because it might be their job.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's a shame.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's probably why we're missing out on a lot of interesting.
So how are we doing on time, guys?
I know you actually got to go here in about a minute or so. Do you want to go ahead and recap your websites?
Fun. Don't get me wrong. It's not excellent because I haven't had a good time. It's just excellent.
I know you're tired.
Tired.
I know you had a long day and you have a long weekend ahead of you.
No problem there. I like being busy, and I'm happy that people enjoy the show and they like to come out and share their experiences and stories. And there's a new generation of kids watching it and liking it. So I know, long after I'm gone, it'll still be. That's one of the interesting things with the thousands and thousands and thousands of shows that have been produced over the last 50 or 60 years. To be part of one that not only multi-generations like it and kids like it, but to be part of something that even creative people like Howard Stern and Rob Zombie and Paul McCartney. I mean, there's a lot of people that really enjoy the Munsters that they find it to be entertaining, and that's pretty neat when you consider you're part of a show that might be in the top 10 or 20 shows in a lot of people's lists.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a part of Americana.
So I'm very
Definitely.
very blessed in that respect.
Big part of my childhood.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still running and running and running, which is excellent.
And we also wanted to ask you on the show, not just because of your background, but also we liked you as a person, and we liked reading about some of your experiences growing up, and also about the house, and we just thought
we're Croft fans too.
And we're Croft fans too. So everything about everything you've done in your life now definitely fit in our show theme here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do you want to give a shout out to your websites one more time?
Munsters.com, and that leads to everything else. The official Munsters fan group, almost 19,000 members, very active. If you want to go to a Facebook page for the new, I'm going to have this interesting show, Super Scary Saturday for Al Lewis at PBS.
Cool.
Called Eddie's Monstrous Movie Mausoleum. I'm going to be the straight man introducing horrible movies and letting the horror hosts around the country be my guests.
Oh, cool.
And-
Ooh, I
Very
like
cool.
that.
Sidekick.
Nice.
And we will have a field day with that, having some fun. It's going to be a live stream format, subscription. That's where everything's going these days. And
Nice.
hopefully when I'm on the road in between, I'm going to start filming interesting stuff across America. But I'll let you know how that goes as it develops.
Absolutely.
Very
Sounds
nice.
great. You have a lot of
Sounds
stuff
great.
in the pipeline. All right,
Thank
Butch.
you so much. I appreciate it.
We thank you for coming on tonight, folks. Butch Patrick.
It was really
Yeah.
nice.
All right.
We really
Thank you.
appreciate
It
it.
was great meeting you online.
Great meeting you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. It was Butch Patrick. Pretty
That-
cool.
That was fun.
It was fun.
He is such a fun person to talk to.
He's just had a charmed life. Like
Yeah,
he just
he's had a
hasn't
great
really
life.
desired a whole lot. He's just kind of gone his way, and he's
Yeah.
Oh,
had
yeah.
a good peace of mind about it. You know. This
Oh yeah,
coming-
he's been very level-headed about all of this since he was a kid.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like he's balanced the fame and what he wants to do in his life pretty well
Yeah.
together.
He really
Definitely.
Has. He
Which is
really
very
has.
cool. And he has a lot of projects coming up that sound cool.
I was
Yeah.
looking up teenage pictures of him, and I was remembering how darn cute.
Oh,
he
he's
was.
very cute. Yeah.
Oh God, you guys and your tiger beat again.
Yeah, that's right. Us and our tiger beat. There's a lovely picture I have here of him and his wife when they got married. Aren't they adorable
Oh,
couple?
yeah.
Look at them.
They really are.
You can
Very
tell they're
nice.
soulmates.
She's beautiful.
She's beautiful. Yeah, look at. I mean, they just look like they belong together.
That's really great when you can find
Very-
that. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Excellent.
Everything to do with Halloween, but this show's Halloween all year long.
It is, this show, that's a good point. It is Halloween.
It is
all
Halloween
year
all
round.
year long for this show. Yeah.
That's true, but that's
That's
okay.
why I like it, because Halloween is my favorite of anything.
I think
Well, then
Halloween
you're on the
should
right
be.
show then.
I think Halloween should start September 1st and end November 30th.
How about January 1st to December 31st?
That
There
works
you
for-
go.
Let's
All
just boot Christmas out, and we'll just
Every
have
month.
Halloween even longer. All right, folks. Until next week, we'll see you once again on Ecto Portal. Bye.
Portal.